Hello, good evening, and welcome back again to the Celtic World Order podcast. I'm, as always, Steve O'Matt, and tonight I'm joined by a good friend of mine, Paddy Boy, Paddy Maguire. Mate, it's great to have you on. Hopefully it'll be the first of many. We're going to have a look towards the weekend's big game, but without further ado, how are you, my friend? You all right?
Magic, mate. Thanks for having us on. Looking forward to it. I seen a wee video earlier on with the Green Brigade outside Celtic Park, and it's got me right in the mood.
That's it. None like a wee bit of sort of pre-match, old videos, old goals, old fans to get you going, and it gets the blood going. Because this week, that's what it's all about, isn't it? It's the build-up, and where we want to admit it or not, it's on our lips, it's on our minds, it's in our dreams. It just consumes you, but wouldn't have it any other way, would we?
No, not at all. Not at all.
That's it. So anyway, welcome, as I says. Pre-match goes without saying. Big game around the corner. We're going to have a wee look at it. A couple of match predictions. Have a wee look at the lineup. There's still room for him. Nobody's 100% sure on what's going to happen, particularly in that midfield area. We'll have a wee look at opposition FC. We'll talk about their strengths, their weaknesses, their threats, and ultimately we'll give an end of match thought. What we think, how's it going to go when all is said and done. But before we kick on, there's always that wee bit of housekeeping that we need to do. As I've said twice already, and I'll continue to say it until things change. Right now, our operation is small, but there is always room for some rapid expansion. So if you want to help get the word out there, you want to grow the channel, grow the community, help us out, then it takes you 2 seconds. Just make sure that you subscribe to the video here. If you like what you see in here, give it a like. If you want to go mental, get the reach further, give it a share. It just helps get more people in, gets more eyes on, and helps grow the channel. If you also want to connect elsewhere, at cWo Pod 1888 is on X, Legacy Twitter, or at Celtic World Order Pod on Old School Facebook. That's it. I'll keep you fully up to date. So, as we say, there's a game around the corner, but we can't really, Paddy, talk about the game around the corner without having a wee look back at where we've been. We're not going to labour the point, but I just want to know, so I've not really had a chance since you've been away, working away. You're one of these on the rigs guys, and you're time away, time back. So it is what it is. But if you managed to take in some of the games, the last game, and what's your thoughts of where our form is at getting into it?
Do you know what? I watched your previous podcast about it as well, Steve, and I think, like you said on there, the stars are aligning. I think everything's just falling into place for us. For instance, the game against Livingston there, I thought your man Kuhn played well, a decent game. And again, just everything through the middle just seemed to be quicker, faster, and that's come obviously with the return of Hatate. And I just feel like, we're getting there. We've went into this strong. Do you know what I mean? So, I'm looking forward to it.
So do you think that you're saying about, obviously, the return of Hatate, as I covered myself, and with Liam as well through the week, massive. It certainly speeds up. It gives us a wee bit of extra dynamic, play in the middle, a bit more forward thinking, quicker progressing the play. But, have you seen enough? Do you think that the stars are aligning? But have you seen enough from the games? All right, the Hearts game, we take that in isolation. There was multiple things that we don't want to tread on old water there. But do you think, is it concerning you or is it exciting you that we seem to maybe be hitting a wee bit of stride so late on in the season? Because obviously this season's been a wee bit topsy-turvy, isn't it? It's a bit up and down. But as we well know, we're 2 for 2 against Rangers. Could there be a better game for us to kick on? You there? It appears to be a wee bit frozen, a wee bit of technical gremlins with Paddy. I'll drop him out right now, 1 second. That's what happens when you're doing stuff live. You've sometimes just got to rock and roll with it. Connection errors, that's the way we go. We'll get Paddy back, hopefully, and we'll get stuff happening. But as I say, listen, I'll continue to crack on as the things go, and we'll have a wee sort of look ahead as to what's happening. Now, we've seen Brendan Rodgers, we've seen him do his press conference, and one thing that he did say was, it wasn't a game that we had to win. I don't know what everybody thinks about that. Do you necessarily think it's a game? Certainly it's a game I would say that we can't afford to lose, but is it a game that we don't need to win? Is that the way that you'd spin it? Is that him just sort of being polite? Is that him just sort of trying to make light of the situation? Who knows? I think it's a game, undoubtedly, as I've covered before, that yes, we could take a draw because almost probably fixture 2 after that split is going to be Rangers back at Celtic Park. But do we really want to begin in with them potentially beating Dundee after playing us, leapfrogging us and piling that pressure back onto us? And then, as I've said again as well, do we want to be in a position where perhaps we go behind playing at Celtic Park, we win that game, and then we're only marginally ahead? Because, as we've said before, when it's really nip and tuck, when it's that tight and when it's that fine margins, that's when you tend to find that the honest mistakes come about in other games and in our own. I see Paddy's come back here, so let's give me 1 second. We'll try and add him back in. Paddy, are you there, my friend? He is there, but there we go. He's back, just like that. We can hear him. So, Paddy, I'm sure you were able to hear what I was just saying there. At least I certainly hope so. Oh, dearie me. Just like that. Paddy's going to have to go and sort out his internet connection. That's what happens when you get that fly-by-night internet connection. Not the good stuff. Anyway, listen, I'm going to continue to crack on. I can see him down there in the bottom, frantically pulling at the wires, try to sort stuff out. Hopefully we'll get him back on. I'm sure he'll send me a wee message to give me a heads up. But that's it. So I want to look at the predicted lineup, because that's obviously the first position that we need to go to. That's the first thing that we need to be looking at, the starting lineup, because that's ultimately the be-all and end-all, isn't it? Goes without saying, listen, we're not going to flog a dead horse. We've got Hart is going to be the goalkeeper because he's the only option, let's face it. And even though he is prone to a mistake, even though Hart does what keepers do, all the best keepers have got that moment of madness in him. In a strange way, he's in the conversation probably for our player of the season, which says a lot about how our season's been. So it's going to be Hart, isn't it? The back four, again, that takes care of itself. It's going to be Taylor, it's going to be Carter-Vickers, it's going to be Scales, and it's going to be Alistair Johnston. Now, the one thing that I've touched on through the past 2 shows, particularly when I was speaking to Liam the other night there, was I think that it goes without saying that our left-hand side is the weakest of the defence. There's no doubt that we'll have Scales there, and he's been one of the surprise packages. He's been one of the big surprises, and he's actually really surprised and proven a lot of people, myself included, wrong. But we get targeted too easily down that left-hand side. Scales, whenever he's been in there, as I said before, he's bought into his own hype, has he not? He's started to go from knowing his limitations, keeping it basic, keeping it simple, and being robust and being dependable, to thinking he's Maldini, to thinking he's this ball-playing centre-half, trying to make forward runs into midfield and trying to whiz in passes that he just simply doesn't have the capabilities of doing. And then we double down on that. We're having Taylor immediately his left-hand side, who's been a real mixed bag. He's been a player that's been maligned constantly amongst our fan base. So there's no doubt, as we've seen Livingston, Hearts, any team that's come up against us, they've almost stayed off Scales. They've invited him out because they know they're going to get purchase in behind there. But of course, he's going to have Carter-Vickers beside him. And Carter-Vickers seems to make everybody look 110% better than their ability may well be. So he's going to shore up that defence. That's going to instill confidence and heart behind him. And hopefully that's going to bring an air of calmness across the entire backline. We've got into midfield, as we touched on. I'm going to try this again. I might regret it, but let's see if we can get Paddy back in. Paddy, can we depend on you this time, my friend? Probably.
Yes, you can.
Yes. Yeah. Thank you. Let's hope. Mate, this is your first experience. I don't hope this isn't going to give you nightmares and put you off.
I know. Nah, not a chance, man. If I can just touch on one of the things that you were saying, obviously, about Brendan, saying it's not really a must-win game. I totally disagree with that. Every time you go into a Glasgow derby, it's a must-win game. Do you know what I mean? This has to be a win for me. Do you know what? At their park, yeah, I take a draw. But for me, nah, it's got to be a win. You've got to go out there and show them who we are, put them back in their place. Do you know what I mean? And like I say, you touched on it there as well, having Carter Vickers in front of you, if you're a goalkeeper, is only going to fill you with confidence, and the people alongside him. I'm 100% he's put him in there and build the team around him. Do you know what I mean? He's one of the players.
Yeah. He brings that confidence. And listen, welcome back. You don't know how happy I am to have somebody to bounce these off, because you know what? There's nothing worse than just powering straight through. And that's what cWo is about. I want it to be a conversation. It's not one of these waggy finger podcasts. We're not here to tell you what you should think. So that's why it's always good to have somebody across from you. As I said there then, you probably heard as well, I was touching on that potential slightly weaker left-hand side of the defence. As you said, Carter Vickers installs a confidence, and certainly moving forward, we would hope that we can improve on who he's neighbouring up against, and almost possibly replacing Taylor as well, I would say. Whether that's going to be Nawrocki or it's going to be someone else, do you think just the sheer presence of Carter Vickers, because we've not really had that dependability consistently throughout the course of the season. So do you think that's where Scales' issues have came, where he's been trying to do too much, he's trying to be all things in one, because he's not had somebody to sort of chaperone him, maybe wind his neck in, pull him back a wee bit and keep him in check?
Possibly. I mean, I made the jokes as well about the Ginger Maldini, and his head went a bit too big, I reckon. He come back for Aberdeen. Me and you spoke about it at the start of the season, like, oh my God, he's not going to step into this squad. Then, yeah, there you have it, 2 games, 3 games in, we're going, wait a minute, who is this guy? Do you know what I mean? He had a couple of cracking games, played really, really well. I think maybe, yeah, having Carter Vickers beside him installed a bit of confidence. But he does need somebody to rein him in as well and stop him from trying to do what Greg Taylor does and run past the midfielders and not include them. Do you know what I mean? He needs to sort that out a bit. So, yeah.
No, I think as we say, Carter Vickers, that's the goal that holds back our whole entire backline together. But listen, the big conversation, the big topic, as we well know, is going to be the midfield, and that's something I really want to sort of deep dive and have a wee look around. Get your thoughts on what you think that lineup's going to shape up to be. It goes without saying that the bookie's choice, if you will, if you were putting your bet down, you're going to say that Callum McGregor's going to come straight in out the cold. He's going to be the anchor. He's going to fall into that deeper number 6 position, which theoretically should give Hatate and O'Reilly, as I say, that's the ones that everybody seems to think is going to be, that wee bit more freedom to be creative. First of all, McGregor, his quality is undoubted. I know that this season for him has been a wee bit up and down, and listen, you're damned if you do and you're damned if you don't when it comes to your captain. You're not allowed to say that he's not been playing and firing on all cylinders, but I think it's safe to say that at times he maybe has shied away and he's dwindled away a bit. He's been a wee bit in the background, but as we've seen before, as was with previous games at Ibrox, he does have that in him where he can grab the game with the scruff of the neck and he can push us on when we need it most. Have you any reservations about bringing him back in, or do you think a guy who has professionalism, he's a consummate professional, his fitness will be bang on, his lifestyle will be bang on, he trains hard? Do you think even coming in at 80%, he's better than the other options that we'll get to, which would be Bernardo or Awata?
An 80% Callum McGregor is better than the options that we've got. 100% agree on that. Callum knows what it means. He's a captain. He's a leader. He'll go in there and he'll give it 110%. The players that haven't played in front of that atmosphere before, he'll bring them in and just say, listen, right, we do what we do. Do you know what I mean? Don't listen to this. Don't let it get to you. Get the heads down and get on with it. And that's what you've got to do as a captain. Do you know what I mean? And he'll sit there. He'll sit at the back, just in front of the defence. He'll break up the game. He'll do the dirty stuff. and it'll let Rio and hopefully Matt O'Reilly as well do what they do best, and that's create. It'll speed up the ball for us getting in, and that's what we need. We need to be quick against them. We need to be rapid, because let's face it, they've not got a rapid midfield. They don't have that kind of players that we've got there. Yeah. Do you know what I mean?
I mean, that's the thing. We often say with Rangers that they're hammer throwers, don't they? That's the term that normally gets used for the midfield. And Drew says that gives that wee dynamic edge, that wee bit of extra speed. Just to come back and touch on Cal McGregor's sort of previous form when he hasn't had Hatate next to him, and sometimes it's looked a wee bit disjointed. You said he's going to come in deeper, should be receiving the early ball, which should hopefully nullify the Scales notion to try to run into midfield and do it himself. But do you think when we had that wee sort of, up and down, peaks and troughs for him, as I says, McGregor, let's be honest, he was a wee bit part of the problem on occasions. Do you think he was trying to be all things in one and not being able to just focus on one role, trying to basically be the deep line picking it up, but also being the creative spark that maybe, say, Hatate's going to be for us?
Yeah, he's a captain. He wants to win. He wants to do the best for our team. And he knew what we needed. He knew we needed an attacking player. He knew we also needed the defensive part that he provides. So he was doing his part and then trying to do somebody else's, because we weren't getting that for the players that we had brought in.
Yeah. No, that's definitely, as I say, listen, I think he's got to come in, but let's look at, if he says, what in the event that perhaps Rodgers isn't feeling confident to fire him straight in there. So who are the other options? Well, the obvious one is going to be Tomoki Iwata, because he's been in there. By all accounts, I think he's been fairly robust, hasn't he? Is that maybe, if we went with, say, a midfield of Iwata, Hatate and O'Reilly, it's a wee bit untested, particularly against Rangers. Iwata, limited exposure in the match. And even though he's looked calm and he's looked dependable, if you have any concerns over it maybe eating him up, it maybe becoming a bit too physical, because let's face it, he is more physical, however, I would say, than Hatate, than McGregor and than O'Reilly. And when, as you said, we go into a midfield battle, which could be hammer throwers there, we'll use the term. Is there maybe room to kind of shoehorn him in some way or form, just for that wee bit more hardness in play?
Of course there is. We know what the guy can do. We know he can defend as well. We've seen him being brought in at centre-back at some points as well, and he's just slotted in as if, yeah, that's where I play, that's what I do. He's good at breaking up the play. He'll give you 110%. He's got the link with Hatate, obviously. He's an option. If Callum isn't fully fit, I would put Callum in if he was 80% fit. But if he's less than that, then obviously you've got to look at Iwata.
Would you go for Iwata immediately over Bernardo?
Yes, 100%, especially in that position. Bernardo, I see, is more of an attacking sense, more kind of your Matt O'Reilly replacement.
Mm-hmm. Right.
For me, you can't drop Rio. Rio's the man in there. He's the boy for me. I would have him in there above anybody. But yeah, fully fit Cal McGregor, and 80% Cal McGregor gets in over Iwata. Anything less, you've got to have Iwata in there. To break it up.
As I say, I totally agree. I think personally, I would, for the exact reasons that you say, I would bring in McGregor for the experience, of course. I'd bring him in for his technical ability, his reading of the game. And let's face it as well, this game's going to be far more open. It's going to be a game that is going to be suited to our play. Our best performances this season have always came in matches where we've played better opposition, who want to attack, who want to be a bit more expansive, whether that's been in Europe or against Rangers. And when you've got those open spaces, particularly through the midfield, as I said previously when I was speaking to Liam through the week, I watched Rangers against Hibs, and they were very open, and there's big channels there, and you need someone like McGregor with his range and eye for passing to break those lines and get those in behind for Kyogo and other attacking players. I think for me, when I've been looking at it through this week, even though I've said he'll probably go with the status quo of McGregor, Hatate and O'Reilly, for me, the player that I would be most inclined to switch in that three would be O'Reilly. I think that his form has been up and down. But again, it comes back to this. He's performed, he's delivered previously for us. He knows about the fixture. He can handle, he's proven he can handle the atmosphere. And listen, it's going to be red hot. It's going to be all Rangers fans. It's going to be a lockout. But he's the one for me that I would be maybe more inclined to bring in Iwata, because we say about Cal McGregor sitting in and being that link. I think we forget sometimes that Cal McGregor's a very creative forward player. If you remember back to Rodgers' first time at the club, McGregor was very advanced and he's playing midfield because we still had Scott Brown and he was playing a lot, he was scoring a lot. So if we want to toughen up and we want to really be robust and hard through the midfield, would you prefer to see that combination where Iwata becomes the really deep line one, McGregor and Hatate become the creative elements of the mid?
I think it's some option, it'd be incredible if it works as it's said there. I can remember back to Callum, like you say, playing like an old number 10, wasn't it? He was there, just sat behind the striker essentially, and pushed forward and created the passes and stuff. Yeah, I can see it, but I don't know if I can see Brendan doing it. O'Reilly's going to start. I can't see Brendan dropping him to bring in Callum. I can only see the Iwata one getting replaced.
Yeah. So do you think is that because is O'Reilly one of Brendan's boys? We know that he's got a fierce loyalty people, and Iwata's come in probably through necessity, but
yeah,
by your eye, is he still got some way he proven himself that he can be constantly relied upon for Rodgers?
We don't see what the guys do every day in training, Steve, and if these guys are constantly producing on the park and training, and Brendan's seen this magic and he's just waiting for that to show on the park and thinks, do you know what, if he can show half as much as what he shows in training on that park, then maybe that's what it is. I don't know how he comes about it, but for me, I reckon O'Reilly, he's been there, he has scored cracking goals, he's very creative. It's like an old Tom Rogic, you know what I mean, at some points with the magic feet. I think he's got it, and if he can give us that 100% of his game, then we're laughing.
Well, as we say, I've said it previously, I'll say it again. What a game for some players to come back to full form. You couldn't ask for a better stage. And as we say, sometimes maybe these dips in forums, these sort of questionable performances for some of these guys, I know they get paid handsomely for it, and there should be no excuse. You and I would run ourselves into the ground if we were given a Celtic shot. It's different when you're a pro footballer, but maybe he just simply can't get up. I know maybe there's a talk that O'Reilly's mind has been elsewhere since all the transfer links and stuff like that, but maybe as well it can play into the fact that he's a big game player.
Yeah.
And it's sometimes hard to get up for an away game to Kelly. It's sometimes tough to be G'd up for playing Livingston on a honking pitch, So it's things like that. So, we'll see how that midfield goes. As I say, personally, I think he'll go with that. If it was me, I would be more inclined to use Iwata, try and get a real foothold in the game, try to be a wee bit more physical because that's what they're going to go for us. Try and get the lead and then capitalise on having that extra bit of creative quality to come off the bench. That's how I would play it. But hey, I'm not a manager. I'm just a guy sitting talking garbage on YouTube. So the midfield's got to be completed. It's two wingers. Celtic, the width of the team sometimes has been questionable this season, hasn't it? Left-hand side, it's got to be Maeda, hasn't it? I mean, he's not the most gifted footballer. Questionable touch, questionable finishing ability, crossing almost non-existent. But
that boy can run.
Listen, well, that's the thing. Do you think Iwata's my bad, Maeda's simply got to be in the team for the chaos element rather than what he brings to it from a technical and flair standpoint? Is it all about that hard press, that tackling, the determination, and more importantly, pinning back their captain?
Yeah, that's it. That's what Dyson's going to do. He's going to keep him pinned back, make him play like a left back because we all know he can't. And if Dyson can keep him up that side of the park, then that's a bonus for us. And just let him run. Just give him the ball and say, right, away you go, pal. Do you know what I mean? Run with it. Make people chase you. Make people make the decision to get in and tackle you and make mistakes, foul you, because it's going to happen. He's so fast. He's speed. He'll put Butland under pressure every time he's got the ball. And
do you think as well, he's not been gifting us with massive amounts of goals. Remember, he came over and he was, he was a golden boot winner over in Japan, and then when we got him, we're kind of a wee bit confused. Thought this guy's supposed to be a striker.
Yeah.
He's very much in that Enigma Samaras-ish type mould, is he not? Where he'll frustrate you. You'll have you tearing out your hair 1 minute, and then the next you'll be like, wow, didn't see that coming. But let's not forget as well, 4 goals in the post-Bald era, and he's already had one at Ibrox before. Is this another game where he might just surprise us? That work rate might just pay off when the says if he's pinning back Tav, putting him into a position that even though he's supposed to be a full-back, he doesn't like being there. He's always, you ever look at Rangers losing goals against us in our club, Tav's always running back, he's blowing out his backside and blaming other folk or sliding into the net as the ball goes in. He's got speed to burn. We've got to take advantage, as much as they might want to take advantage of our deficiencies at left back. We've got to take deficiencies of theirs at right back and exploit that. Do you think we're going to get a wee surprise of him? Is that work rate going to pay off? Maybe even with a goal?
If I was a gambling man, I probably wouldn't put any money on him. But again, I wouldn't bet against him. So, yeah, listen, we don't need to worry about our left back problem as long as we keep their right back pinned.
And what about the other side then? The other side, as we say, is a guy that's came, you and I have discussed him, Nicholas Kuhn. For pun terms, we thought we had made a Nicholas counterfeit whenever we first signed him. He looked at one of these guys, he always played or had a history at big clubs, but never really broke into them. He was on the books, not many appearances. We thought, is he just another one of these guys that he's Ollie Burke-esque and he's been able to steal a wage at big clubs but never do anything? He came to us, he looked a wee bit ropey. He's starting to show what he kind of promised in that initial press conference, isn't he? Direct, attacking, inside, outside.
I'm going to be direct, I'm going to excite the fans, I'm going to do this. I'm looking at him going, right, no problem, mate. To be fair, he looked as if he was carrying a bit of timber in the kind of press conferences, says me. But yeah, you look at him now, at the last kind of couple of games, he's been going past players. And I seen a thing the other day, and it was talking about Luis Palma. And it's saying he'd been found out because he kept cutting back onto the right foot. Kuhn doesn't. He goes and he takes players on. He'll take them to the byline once, and then he'll cut back the next time, and he's got an end ball as well. And for me, he just looks, promising. He looks as if he's the one that's going to show a bit. I was a fan of Yang until he got caught offside in the Hearts game 4 times in the first half or something. And I thought, this guy's got it for me. He's a bit of flair about him, bit of magic. But then over the last couple of games, seeing Kuhn, I think it's a no-brainer. He's got to be in there.
We'll see with Kuhn coming on. Obviously, we talk about the red-hot atmosphere. We talk about how it's going to be a lot about physical and, more importantly, mental strength in that sort of atmosphere. Kuhn's a young guy. He had a wee bit of a checkered start. He was maybe just finding his feet. I've always been took a pinch of salt, this notion of, young guy coming over, new culture, new team, let him settle in. Maybe I just expect too much. And I've always been you're a professional footballer, you're a given tactics, you're told to do a job, go show and deliver. But he started to pick up man of the match performances, goals, and as you say, he looks like he's got confidence. How do you think his mind space is going to be? Are you hoping? Well, of course we're hoping, but do you think, is more the point, is he going to go into it literally with nothing to lose, to think to himself, I'm going to go in there, I'm going to show them what I've got? Or do you think there's a possibility, having not experienced anything like this before, that it could burn him up? Do you think that he just gets his foot in the ball and pushes on?
If you're a Celtic player and you're going into that atmosphere, this is a chance to make a name for yourself. And that's what if I was a captain, I would be saying to them, do you know what, boys? Go be heroes. go make these fans love you, because if you score a goal against them, if you put them to the sword, that's it. You're a hero. I mean, it might only be for a wee while till you make another mistake, but you do it against them, that's you. You're in.
Well, if we look at the guy that he's replaced, which was Abada, and he terrified Rangers, did they not? Barisic, that's a guy that it could well be that Kuhn's going to be going up against. Do you see more in his game? Obviously, Abada, listen, we thank him for his time at the club. Some fantastic goals against Rangers, some good performances. But do you see a wee bit more a dynamic player in Kuhn? I know it's early days, but do you think he's got a different flavour to him that going up against a Barisic that it's going to be, if you thought Abada was a nightmare, this could be something completely different.
Abada, I think, used his pace to his advantage. I think he was another one that was pretty rapid. Kuhn, I've not really seen how quick he is, the boy, but he can control the ball and he's not scared to take a player on. So I think he'll turn the defence inside out. They'll be scared of him, no doubt. I don't know who they're going to have in the middle. But I mean, they're certainly going to be trying to help out the left back.
Looking at that width then, as I'm saying, as us trying to get down the side and exploit their fullbacks to get balls across and as you said rightfully, there's no doubt we're maybe sacrificing a wee bit on the left-hand side with Maeda, simply because he doesn't have that, skillful feet to cut in, take on a player and do it confidently where you think he's going to get by him. He might stumble by him, might kick the ball and run on it, but with Kuhn, it's going to be a direct taking on and you'd fancy your chances when to do it and then deliver a quality ball, whereas you might not that with Maeda. You never know, but do you think we're going to maybe then try and do something and completely focus getting more down the right-hand side, more down the side of Kuhn and just negating the left-hand side? Not saying that we won't play out there, but just saying a creative, getting the balls across, that's going to be right-hand side heavy. Do you think that's probably how we'll look at it?
Yeah, possibly. Again, it's just about keeping the players pinned in. We just need to keep them stuck back. I feel if we concentrate too much just now on what player's going to have what, I mean, I don't think the right back's going to get much off Maeda. I don't think he's going to keep up with him by a long shot. Do you know what I mean? And I think Kuhn will just terrify whoever's on the other side, whether it be the boy Barisic or is it the young lad Yilmaz, who I don't rate either of them. I don't think they're decent enough players to deal with what we've got.
Do you think Rangers will maybe make a change there then? What we've seen that they've done a lot as well. A guy that at first folk were sort of snorting away and laughing at him. And I'll be honest, I think he looks like, by all accounts, a fairly decent player. So far, with our predictions, we're not pulling too many surprises. Do you think that maybe Philippe Clement will bring in a guy who's been relying on, he's been playing more in the midfield, but he can also play at full back, which is Dijon Sterling, big physical guy. He's got a bit of pace around him. Do you think if they're known, listen, their captain's a stick on, he is going to be their right back? You can write it down. There's no chance of him no being there. Do you know what I mean? There's more chance of pigs flying than him no being at right back. But that left is up for grabs. Do you see them, because of what we've just discussed, maybe throwing that curveball and giving the boy like Sterling a shout just to try and make them a bit more hard at the back? Again,
I don't know. I think they'll stick with him in midfield and try and boss the midfield because, like you say, he's a bit of a unit. I don't rate him as a defender. Seems to be a bit of a knuckle dragger. He's no the best defender for me. And again, I think Kuhn would just turn him inside out, and he'd be snapping at his heels, trying to take the ball off him. I've got no fear at all at the right hand side. I think we've kind of got it covered. We've got the Olympic man, like you said, Alistair Johnston will run all day. Might not be the best.
I mean, could have got a good understanding though. We're starting to see more of those overlaps.
Yeah.
You know, dare I say it, a la what we've seen with Ange Postecoglou's, full backs, there seems to be a wee bit more a relationship. They're overlapping and they're working for each other, and that's massive. You've touched on the speed and turning folk inside out. Well, that goes to the centre backs, doesn't it? So it's going to be for Rangers, and it's going to be Goldson and Suter. And again, they are what they are. Not for me. Very big, very slow. It's going to be cWo, isn't it? Then he's been dining out in this fixture since he came here.
Yeah, loves a goal against them. Do you know what I mean? Wee man hasn't been firing on all cylinders, as we can say, for the last wee while. But yeah, I think up against them, he knows what it means. He's been there. He's seen the fans' reaction when he scores against them. He's a stick one for me, and I think the wee man will go out there and do the damage again.
Do you fancy for him a goal? Do you?
Yeah. Oh, I'd be going for kWo first goal.
And is that important? Listen, again, sometimes folk will say the Celtic team picks itself, and I've heard on the likes of, dare I say it, Super Scoreboard and other types of forums where they've says it's almost a bad thing that the Celtic team picks itself. The Rangers side, however, you don't know what you're going to get. There's an element of surprise. Is it a bad thing that we can sit here confidently and almost say this is what the team's going to be? Is that a bad thing?
Not at all. I'll sit here right now and I'll say to you it's going to be Hart, Taylor, Vickers, Scales, Johnson, McGregor, O'Reilly, Haddadi, Kuhn, Kyogo, Maeda. That's your team. And that's what we're going to start with, and we're absolutely going to terrorise them for the start. Because their players will be sitting, they probably don't know if they're starting tomorrow right now. Do you know what I mean? I think this guy just picks names out of a hat sometimes. Seen his interview earlier on as well, and he's talking about Callum McGregor, saying how he didn't feel he had a massive impact in the previous game. I don't know what game he was watching, but Callum McGregor had their midfield in his back pocket. And,
well, he clearly wasn't listening to his fans either, was he? Because anything that I saw from friends that are Rangers supporters, yes, I do have them, and also online and elsewhere, it was, how on earth did we stand off Callum McGregor? How did we give him the freedom of Ibrox? That was the chat. So it's baffling, is it not, that their manager has seen that? He obviously then goes on to say, and it's important that that's taken away from them, whether that means that he can't start or it just means that they go in heavy on him.
Yeah.
That's open to interpretation. But, you know, to that end, does that make you a wee bit confident where maybe as good as much they think this manager is, that he can't see the obvious in front of him? Does that, to you, make you think?
He's on. I think that's what the problem is. I think he's wearing the same glasses as Ali. It's just, it always sees is how good they are. Who have they played? Do you know what I mean? They've not beat us. They've not done anything against anybody who's been decent. And they concede pretty much every game. To me, mate, they're not as good as what they think they are. They've done well, but yeah, I think it's just a matter of stepping up there tomorrow and saying, do you know what, guys, get back in your place. There you go. And you know me, forever the optimist.
Yeah. Well, when I was speaking to Liam throughout the week, Liam for the Boise Bus, the one thing I'd say is, when I was talking about come on, and I was talking about Rangers, he's getting his praises sang because, you know, listen, it wouldn't be hard for them to improve from where they were, and I know that they did better this season in Europe. And again, you've got to take your hat off, commend that where you want to or not. But what I said, and what I've said consistently is for me, all he's done is bring them together. I know that sounds flippant and throwaway, all he's done. That's important. But they're winning games, that, let's face it, that we as Celtic fans would expect Rangers to win most seasons. Because as long as we've been fans and as long as we've been watching these games, with, of course, the exception of when they went completely out of the game and came back and started off again, when it's been competitive as such, Celtic and Rangers have beat the best of the rest. And the games have mostly been down to each other, where occasionally other teams taking points here and there. So I don't think he's really done and reinvented the wheel. He's making them win games that their fans themselves would be expecting them to win. And bar one or two quite, free scoring results for them, they've also been just getting by in games.
Yeah.
So, I think that there's got to be there's maybe too much getting made of this for him, because as we know in Glasgow, somebody's got to be the flavour of the month and somebody's got to be the class clown. And we're going in that stage where, he is the flavour of the month. And, narration might change if we get a result tomorrow, because then it would be 2 games against us, potentially 2 losses. That shine starts to fade a wee bit. But listen, we'll crack on. We'll have a wee look at Rangers. Obviously, I'll just quickly touch on cWo. His form's been on and off. But as I said before at the start and opening of the show, Rangers will be more open. It's a more open game. There'll be spaces between the lines. Do you think that's just partly we've been playing teams who sit in very, very deep and kind of nullify kyogo's runs and that effect he has in the game? But we've also, as we touched, we've not had Hatate, who, for seasons gone by, he was the guy that was finding those rounds. He was the guy that was unlocking those defences for him. So do you think that combination of factors is going to get him more purchase in the game, and we're going to see him have a more lively performance? You're predicting a goal, but basically a wee bit more of what we've came to expect for him.
Oh, 100%. I mean, you say kyogo turns up in the big occasions. In the big occasions, teams come out at you. You don't have a flat back 10. I mean, you're not playing against 10 defenders like we do when you play Livy and Kelly and Motherwell and whatever. These teams are doing what they can to get a result. A draw against us is a massive result for them, let's face it.
Yeah.
So when you're playing against the bigger teams, shall we call them, they're going to come out at us. They're going to try. I mean, we're playing against them. They're the home team. And they are going to try and come at us. And that's going to open up spaces. And their defence aren't quick enough to deal with a wee man. Or who's playing alongside him. I think a wee man will play about maybe 70 minutes tomorrow, and then they'll bring on Ida for a wee chance, give him a shot at it. Again, he provides something else. If we want to do the ugly side of the game and play long balls in, he'll knock them down all day. Yeah. He's a unit. And I think if we're crossing balls into the box, the big man will get on the end of some of them.
Yeah, that's something that we've lacked.
He's a good option.
We've lacked that physical presence and height, so it is good to have that option to come off the bench. Speaking of our bench, then we have a wee look at it. It's pretty much, it's looking stronger, isn't it? If we're going to predict it, it's probably going to be Forrest, Yang, Ida, Bernardo, Narotsky. But do you think there's maybe also room for, we've seen guys like Frame, we've seen guys like Kelly being brought in. Is there maybe a wee surprise? Is there going to be a Vata, even where's O? So it's positive as we're feeling about the form picking up and the returning players, Carter Vickers and Hatate. Are you also feeling positive about those options, as you said, that are on the bench? I've touched on it and I'll say it one more time because I think we need to. Forrest, when he's been coming on and he's been contributing, showed a wee bit of the form of old. There's somebody, and he's got a good delivery. That's probably someone that would come on in tandem with Ida, change to get those balls into him. Ida, as you say, and almost in that, not quite yet in the proficiency of scoring, but in that Yakimakis sort of, he's big, he's physical, and he's doing stuff that we have never been doing. It's winning headers, it's holding up play.
It's totally different for kyogo. Do you know what I mean? He's a totally different player. And you mentioned Jamesy Forrest. My brother-in-law he'll be creaming himself over that. He absolutely loves Jamesy. And I've been sitting there before and he's like, bring on James Forrest, bring on James Forrest. He comes on and he does a job. I said, how many times have we said it with this guy? Oh, he's got to be finished now, he's got to be finished now. And he comes on and he does what he does. He just runs up that wing, puts the balls in the box. He's in the right place at the right time. And he's a good option. He touched on a young lad, Kelly. I think he deserves a place on the bench. He's been decent. Probably should have scored against Livy. That ball into the box there, but I think he seen his name in lights again and I thought, here we go. But he's a cracking young player, and I think give him 10 minutes. Give him a bit of it anyway. Give him a tasty.
Result pending, of course, eh?
Result pending. Oh, aye, that's it. When we're 2 or 3 up, we'll stick him on. Or, like Liam said, when we're 5-1 up, we can stick him on. Do you know what I mean?
And that's it, that 5-1. I saw you reneged on that a wee bit. I was glad or something, thinking about checking his temperature, but I'm sure he's still thinking of a win, but maybe not so much 5-1. But listen, it wouldn't be a pre-match sort of analysis if we didn't have a look at the opposition, because listen, we've got to do that, haven't we? We've got to do that. We'll not labour it too much. They've undoubtedly got a quality goalkeeper in Butland. But it's what's in front of him is what we've got to try and exploit, isn't it? We've already touched on it. Tav, he's meant to be a right back, but only by tag because he's not great at that side of the game. The two big lumbering units of the centre halves is going to be Suter, isn't it? It's going to be Goldson. Sworn a week in jail, I think the phrase is. And then it's up for grabs out on their left-hand side. We've spoken about the midfield for ourselves, and it is cliche to say, but that's the engine room of every match, isn't it? That's where the games are won and lost, and whoever can get control of that will ultimately be picking the passes that are going to result to the goals. So who are we likely to get in there for them? Let's go through what their options are. There's Cantwell, everybody's favourite TikToker. Lundstrom, El Hammer Throw, and of course there's the recent addition, which is Diamande. He seems a wee bit more of a player, doesn't it? Is he maybe what they thought the famous Raskan was going to be? Is he giving them a wee bit more? He's a slight guy, but he's strong, isn't he? He's hard in the tackle, and he looks as if he's quite dangerous for distance with a shot. Is that one that we're going to have to keep an eye on? And who's the guy to do that?
I think you've got to sit somebody like Callum on this boy. Callum will take care of him. TikTok Todd, he can just do what he does. He's, like you say, stick on for a book in him, isn't he? I just think your man Diamande likes to go forward, like you say, he can crack a ball. But I think if you kind of stick somebody like Callum close to him, he's not going to get anywhere near.
And well, that comes back to our debate about our midfield. Cal McGregor, you can stick on him and be a high press on him, trying to smother him before he can get the ball. Do you think, with the way that Rangers midfield shapes up though, do you think a quick and high press on to their players when they get the ball is enough? Or the chat again, bringing in a Wata, maybe to sacrifice for an O'Reilly? Does that maybe start to make that look more like an actual conversation and a necessity perhaps? Because it could be physical and sometimes the press just isn't enough.
Yeah, it makes a point for you. It makes a point for your Callum and Awata sitting in there. I think having they two in, it would solidify the midfield. It would give you the confidence. It would give the defence the confidence that, if something gets through there, then they can deal with it. But, I mean, not much is going to get through they two, is it? I just think Lundstrom's not going to burst forward. Cantwell, he'll try and do his wee bit. Diamande, he can get forward, he can have a dig and whatever, but keep them shooting for 20, 30 yards. I'm all right with that. You know what I mean?
Try and just limit it. Another player, someone that we were linked with, whether you believe that or not, was of course Fabio Silva. From what I've seen him, he was marketed as a striker. I don't really think he's a striker. He seems more of a winger, maybe more of a number 10. He seems to have some fancy feet, some nice control, and he's quite fast. Do you see him as being a threat down that left-hand side? You know, that'll be facing up against Kuhn. That'll be facing up against Alistair Johnson. If we get enough in the tank between the two, you keep him quiet in the afternoon.
Yeah, Alistair will run all day. He'll keep him under tap. Like you say, marketed as a striker, but I've seen nothing like that for him. Game was against Kelly, played all right, the good game on the wing, was cutting inside quite a lot, put a good few balls in the box. I think he scored in that game as well, but it was a tap in really. It doesn't do it for me.
In the end, that game for him, wasn't it? So you can only take it with a pinch of salt. You can only beat what's in front of you, but yeah, I agree with what you're saying there. And listen, who's going to be leading the line for him? But listen, it's going to be Dessers, isn't it? And again, Dossers, aye. We can say what we want about him. I personally don't think he is the most, how should we say it in polite terms, prolific and trailblazing of strikers. Yes, his goal tally would say otherwise, but similar to what we get with Maeda, goals are getting off the back of his head, off his backside, and then he'll score a worldie. We've seen him against him when he choked when he got through on goal, but he seems to be showing a wee bit more. And again, from what I've seen previously, he's exploiting that left hand and coming in We saw it against Hibs where he ghosted in on the left, with their right-hand side, our left, coming in, header. He is a big guy. Again, he's callous, he's, lumbers about, but he's going to create a physical battle, and he's probably going to try and target Scales, is he not?
Yeah, of course he
Do you
is.
see any worry in him, what he's shown in recent form, or do you think it will just be, business as usual for us?
The boy's a unit, of course he is. He's had chances, like you say, against us before, and he choked. I think me and you would have finished that one when he was clean through on Joe Hart. I just think in the big games, it doesn't seem to be their go-to. He doesn't seem to be the man that does it. He's done it against everybody else. He comes in and I think he's thinking about it too much. I think obviously he's going to target Scales, because you wouldn't target the fridge, would you? Nobody's going to target big CCV. He's got to try and target him, but I think William Scales has got enough in the tank to deal with him. Especially having Carter beside him. He's got the confidence there to do what he's got to do.
So, Paddy, we've spoke about our game plan, which is usually going to be built around speed, slick passing, balls in behind, at least while Keogh goes on the pitch. If we look at Rangers, we kind of came to know for now what we're going to get, isn't it? I call it chaos ball. It's simple, but it has been effective for them. It's going to be 3/4 up the pitch, or on the edge of the box, and shell a ball into the middle of the Celtic goal, isn't it? Yeah. That seems to be the thing. They've got guys that play out in the wing, but it seems to be, again, just by tag, because that width really isn't quite there. The boy Silva's maybe trying to do that. But do we need to try and force Rangers to go more narrow and get early presses onto those wide areas and prevent those balls in? Is it as simple as that? Stop the balls getting into the box, stop the chances, stop the goals?
Well, the ball doesn't go in the box, they're not going to get any shots, are they? It's as simple as that when you do think about it, but it's how you stop it. I think a high press, a high fast press is going to be ideal. Again, under Ange, you said it before, we were high, we were fast. You give them 3 seconds on the ball, I want you on him, I want you snapping at his heels, put them under pressure, make them rush the pass, make them do this. If they get time on a ball and get to pick their pass, then you're in trouble. And it's the same with us as well. I don't think they're going to give us a second. I think they're going to be quite fast on us. I think it's going to be quite a high tempo game. The last one showed quite a lot of bookings. I think if you were going to have a wee bet on the game, that would be something to go for. There's a lot of booking points, things like that. I just think high press, high push, just get on them. Don't give them the chance. Don't let them get the ball in the box. Snap at the heels if you have to.
So see, just to finish up on the sort of how we see the game going to be panning out, it's going to be hell for leather, isn't it?
Yeah.
So what's important for us, we said about the hostile environment, it's going to be noise, there's going to be an expectation on Rangers. We go into with perhaps a slight mental edge, albeit with they've got a game in hand, we're 1 point ahead, we are 1 goal ahead. Our manager's come out and says it's not necessarily a game that we need to win. I think that's just lip service. I think our players, as it said within the description of this show here, the manager, the players, us fans, we certainly know it's a don't lose game.
Yeah.
But a win is what you're always going to be aiming for. And realistically, a win is what we need, because that transfers further mental pressure on them as they go into their game to find themselves further behind, get into a tough game away in Dundee. The weather's been horrendous. The pitch could be messy. Come that time, that game's round the corner.
Flooded penalties.
These wee things start to add up, do they not? Yeah. But it's cliche to say. For me, I think we're going to have to ride the lightning for the first 10 to 15 minutes. They're going to come out the traps fast. They're going to be going hell for leather. I wouldn't be surprised if you saw maybe 2-3 early corners to Rangers within the first 5 or 6 minutes. Ride the storm, get a foothold in the game, and start to play our own way. Is that how you see the initial stages panning out? And what do you think is going to happen there?
Yeah, I do. I see them coming out. Like you say, first 10 minutes is essential for both of us. And see them coming out, trying to go for it. Possibly we'll catch them on the break. I'd like to see an early shot for us, an early goal to put them back in the box quite early. I think if they do come out the traps quite fast and try and push forward, then there's a chance that it could happen. For me, it's just ride the storm if they do come at us, and then do what we do best.
So see, come back, just I want to quickly touch, because it is such a big thing, and I think sometimes we neglect this element of the game, the mental side of the game, the mental strength, the capacity to handle pressure. Again, one thing that we need to be mindful of is, again, say what you will about Rangers, but they've shown sometimes they get a wee hand with it, but they tend to, if they've lost a goal, they seem to have a wee bit of mental resilience that they maybe didn't have, and they've bounced back and they've pulled one back. An early goal certainly sets the tempo for us. Equally, if we were to lose an early goal, do you see enough in us? Because our mental strength sometimes has been questioned this season. Do you see enough in us that we go unfazed?
Yeah, 100%. The only reason they've got that is because they go behind quite often. I don't know how many games of theirs you've seen this year, but they do concede a lot against the other teams in the league. And I can see us scoring tomorrow easy. No problem. I've got no qualms with that. If they score, yeah, we've got it. We've got it. The players in there know what it means, especially if you guys like Callum back there. You've got a lot of players there that have played these games before. There's not really many new boys, is there? Is Kuhn the only new boy in there that's not playing that?
Pretty much. Bernardo was still quite new to the fixture, but he obviously scored a crack in his last one, hasn't he? So he's got a goal under his belt and he knows what's expected. As we say, as the game goes on, I think it's imperative for us to just ride out the storm early on. If we can get a goal, go ahead, perfect, dictate the play. We've looked at the options, we've spoken about the changes. In the event that we find ourselves where we want to be and we're ahead, when do you think those changes come in? Typically, you tend to find, unless by necessity of injury or otherwise, that Rodgers, he likes that sort of around about the 70 minutes mark, doesn't he?
Yeah, 65, 70 minutes.
We'd probably say that the obvious choices in the position where we're perhaps leading is going to be trying to bring in, if they've not started, maybe bringing on Iwata and or Bernardo, trying to make the midfield really compact, overload it, maintain that solidity, and then probably we revert, don't we, to Big Ida up front, just to change up the play. It gives us a variation, and then obviously there's potentially some other creative options there with Forrest and Yang. Are you concerned that we maybe make changes too early, particularly if we're chasing the game, or even if we're trying to protect a narrow lead like 1-0? What would you like to see for the manager in terms of game management?
Brendan's a stick on, mate. You said it there, 65, 70 minutes. That's Brendan's substitutions. He's not one normally to rip off a player at half time unless he's seen something that's drastic. I think we're pretty safe until maybe the 65th, 70th minute. And then he'll start to change things up. I can't see any issues with that. I think we're pretty solid.
And what do you think then, just to sort of wrap it up and bring it home? Scores and predictions. Listen, I'm feeling the confidence at times has been up and down with me. I've got enough optimism based on returning players, based on what we've seen, based on how things are shaping up for us. And as I said in the last show, with the stars potential aligning, do you see, is this the kind of game, and I don't want to labour that, referees and who's who and, honest mistakes and all that kind of thing. But let's just play a wee bit of fantasy football here. Is this the kind of fixture? Can Celtic get out of Ibrox with a 1-0 win? Is that unthinkable?
No, not at all.
Does it need to be at least 2 goals? Do we need that cushion just in case? I know you always want it, but do we need it?
listen, you spoke about it before. I would take a 1-0 win with the ball coming off of Kyogo's arse. I really would. I'd take anything out there. I'd take the win. A win's a win at the end of the day. If it's 1-0 or 5-0, obviously I'd prefer the 5-0, but I'd take a 1-0 out there. I don't think that's a bad shout. I was talking to my wife earlier about it, and I says to her, I reckon it's either going to be 1 or 2. And I won't even give them a goal. I don't think they'll get their Stonewall penalty tomorrow.
I hope that doesn't come back to bite you.
I really can't see it. I think the referees are under a lot of pressure, and I think that when it comes to the big decisions, that they'll be on the ball. The world is watching.
Yeah, I don't want to labour that, and I don't want to keep you too long, but I just need to touch on that because I asked Liam the exact same question. The referees, you've said that, beaten. He's been thrown in, as was Don Robertson. Perhaps there's a bit of contempt, maybe it's a bit of arrogance from the SFA. I asked him, and I'll ask you the same question. Do you think that was a misstep by the SFA, beating in, known? I know that Rodgers came out and says it was talking in isolation. I think he's a great referee and he's one of the best, etc., etc. Again, that's been nice, isn't it? But do you think it was foolish? Do you think they've put him in a position where he might actually give us something or let us away with something that he normally wouldn't because of the pressure?
Yeah, 100%. This guy has been questioned on his refereeing skills. He knows the world is watching this game. He knows the pressure he's under. And if he makes a mistake and gives them something that's controversial, then he'll get called on it again. And that's his job. I think every question is going to be going to be a massive decision. You've got a young lad as well, Nick Walsh, I believe, doing VAR. He's going to be showing freeze frames of absolutely everything. Shouting red card down the microphone, no doubt. But again, I just think it's going to come down to them making the big decisions, and I don't think any of them will go against us. I really don't. Touch wood. I know.
Anyway,
I'm the optimist.
That just leaves with one thing to say before we go home. We all sound as if we're looking for a Celtic win here. You're saying it yourself. You said you'll take anyone, I'll take anyone. But if I was to ask you, what do you personally, Paddy, what do you think the score's going to be? And if you want to go one further, you can even give me a goal scorer.
All right, 2-0 Kyogo. There you go.
First goal scorer or a goal scorer?
Kyogo first, 2-0.
Yeah. Anybody to add to that, or is that going a bit too crazy to predict 2 goal scorers?
So I'd love to say Rio. I'd love to get him in there with a goal against them. You know how he likes to crack a ball for the edge of the box. But maybe Dyson. We'll go Kyogo and Dyson just for a laugh.
I'll take that. Well, do you know what? I'm going to go for a Celtic win. I hope I'm right. I think it'll be a tight affair. I think it's going to be a 1-1, 2-1. I think we'll sneak it, escape to victory, and we'll get out there. But one thing I will say is, I think that second goal, is going to have to come late on, because 3 minutes added time could turn into 5 minutes added time, that could turn into 7 minutes added time. But I'm going to go for 2-1. Anyway, Paddy, listen, mate, it's been an absolute pleasure to have you. A couple of technical problems there at the start, but who cares? We don't take ourselves too seriously at cWo. That's what it is. First time's always the hardest, Paddy. We'll be having you back here, no doubt. It's been an absolute pleasure. To anybody that's taken the time to sit and watch, where you're live right now, just over 30 you at the moment, that's fantastic. As I say, our operation is small, but there's always room for rapid expansion. So please, if you like what you've seen and heard today, support the channel, give us a like, give us a subscribe. If you want to go mental, share it and connect with us elsewhere on our socials. Because, as we say, football without fans is nothing. Podcasts without viewers and listeners are redundant. So help a brother out, help a fan out, help a boy out, and support cWo. Paddy, mate, hopefully we'll be talking about a victory later in the day tomorrow. All the best. Enjoy it when it comes round. As I
Will
say,
do, mate.
it's still questionable whether I'm going to go over to you to take it in with your dear self. But either way, we'll be watching.
Oh, aye.
Let's get down to business.
Let's get down to business.
See you later, mate. Take care.
Take it easy.